What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing fantastic as always. Today we're going to be looking at this cool little pet follower system I made, and I did my best to replicate how it works in MMOs and stuff and other games that generally have this system. It's become a pretty common implementation for video games to have a pet system. So I did my best to recreate it. Here is one of our example pets, so we're going to take a look at how it works, or well, it working, and then we'll, in the second half of the video, demonstrate how to set it up on your own pet, as it doesn't come with these animals, creatures, robots, whatever. You can put it on anything you want. Put it on avatars, so you can make little like human followers or robots, or I don't know, a beer mug. It doesn't matter, it'll work on anything. So here's our first example, and it's already following us. So the first thing we're going to do is demonstrate its following. So I built this little ramp system, and we're just going to jump off of it. And you can see it starts to path and make its way to us. Here it comes. Here we are. So yeah, it'll follow us around obstacles. It'll find its own way right to you, which is pretty cool. And you can even throw it, and then after a adjustable amount of time, it will, if it hits the ground, hold on, let me make it hit the ground here. If it doesn't hit the ground, it'll teleport back to you, but if it does hit the ground, if I can aim, it should walk back to us. Or roll. And of course, we'll demonstrate it here in a few minutes, but this is all network synced, so it's good for multiplayer and all that. And yeah, so if you're standing still, you can face it or not, but if you're moving, it'll always position itself behind you. So if we run this way, we're running this way, it'll be behind us, and if we run this way, it'll still be behind us. There it is. All right. So there's generally two types of followers. You have your ground followers, and of course your flying followers. So we have that set up too. So here's our ghost. And as you can see, he follows at a set height, not on the ground. Which is pretty cool. And easy to configure. Now, if we look carefully at another one, let's take our fox here. Come back, fox. He'll come back. Eventually. There he is. Alright. You can see here there is even bonus animations that if you have them with whatever your asset is, you can play those bonus animations. So those are typically like your sit or run around, or, well, it just depends on what asset you're working with. But you can program in the, well, not program it, but you can drag and drop in the bonus animations as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the networked aspect of it. So here we are in multiplayer with two clients open, and we are just going to pick this guy up and kind of throw him over there. You can see it is moving on our second client, which is a little bit delayed. And then as we start moving, you can see it animates on the second client. You can see it following from the second client. As we run over to the first client, we can turn around on both and watch it approach from slightly different angles. And you can see the animations all play, it idles like it should. And if we actually switch over to our second client, this is obviously an option, but you can pick it up and then attach it. The second client can, so to speak, steal the pet, and after it resets here in a second, it will be following our second client And we can see, wait, did I do it right? I think I was watching it on this one before, right? Here, I'll steal it on this one just to prove it. So it was following the right screen, and now we have it following, here in a second, we'll have it following the left screen. So, fully networked, good to go on that. Now we are going to go ahead and take a look at some of the customizable options I've included that you would tweak when implementing it on your own. And towards the end, we will set up this one from scratch, just to show you how it's done and how you would do it when implementing this system into yours. As even if you attach the script, there is a little bit of setup. So obviously you would need a model, and you would probably want to have animations for that model. So that's kind of on your own. You need to supply your own model plus animations, and that generally looks like something like this. So these were just free assets. You can find these on the Unity store, but they come with different generally animations and the model. And this one, the materials weren't working. That's why he's all white, just pure white. So here is the actual script, the follower pet script. Should rename that pet follower, but you know, whatever. So the first thing you're going to need to do is attach this script, and that'll look something like this when you attach it. It'll be pretty empty. So what you have to do is attach the various components. So the animator will likely be on the same thing. So for the animator, you just attach the object you're animating. For the NavMeshAgent, you probably won't have one by default. So you're gonna have to type in NavMeshAgent and then do the same thing for that. And then for the rigid body, again, you probably won't have one of those. So you either need to add a rigid body, or you need to add a VRC pickup if you want it throwable. Now, rigid body automatically comes with gravity checked, so you'll want to uncheck gravity. Other than that, this should be fine unless you want to customize where you grab it, things like that. If you want it to disallow theft, you can also do that. Alright, so let's talk about some of the options within our system here. Now that we have it pretty much everything's assigned, you're going to want to configure these animation options or names specific to your model. So as you can see, some of these are the same, but some of them are not. So you can see we have bonus animations. So in order to do that, you're probably going to have to reconfigure your animation controller for your model. And it's called a finite state machine, is the type of thing we're working with here. And it's gonna look something like this. You'll have an entry, well, by default it looks something like this, which is just running through each animation. But we don't want to do that. We want to say, if condition is true, do it, and then don't. So basically here's what we're doing here. We have our idle, which is just default from entry to idle. And then we go to our walking if the walk is true. And you configure these by just creating a boolean and calling it whatever you want. The important thing is this name that goes to the walk is the same name as right here. That is the important thing. So you can see here I have these configured a little bit different, but they're kind of the same thing. We'll go back to the fox just because that's the example we were looking at. You do the same thing no matter what. So you say, hey, if this boolean we created called walk is true, we go to walk. All right. Now we can go to running if the run is true, or we can go from idle to run. But the important thing is that we go back to idle when the walk is false. Now, another thing that you need to probably do is, if there's a condition set, which for most of these there will be, you need to uncheck has exit time. And for the bonus animations, such as our sits, the various idles, and whatnot, you just configure another Boolean and do the same thing. So it's actually quite easy, and I'll include at least one of these assets in the prefab so you can see how I did it and configure yours, because you may have more or less of these. You may have a whole bunch of bonus animations, things like that. But you probably at least have a walk, you will have an idle, and you might have a run. Everything else is kind of optional, but this is the important part right here, this triangle. So that's how you actually get it to animate properly. And you can assign as many extra idle booleans as you want. So those are extra idle animations that for them to play, and you can just change that by this. So when the pet is idling, there is a chance for these bonus animations to play, and that is controlled by this slider right here, which means there's a 0.7 means 70%, so there's a 70% chance per second that a bonus animation will play. Now obviously that's extremely high because I wanted to demonstrate it in the video without a bunch of waiting. So you can adjust this to what feels good when you're testing. Now this run speed ratio is used in conjunction with your speed values, basically, to trigger when you change from walk to run. You'll have to play with those values a little bit to see what feels good for you. And last but not least, we have these grounding, or well, not last, but almost for the script anyways. We have these values right here, which basically determine how long it waits after throwing before returning to you. So, and these have tooltips. I put in tooltips for them, so it makes a little bit more sense. But this is like, so for instance, when it was just floating in the air and teleported back to me, if it hasn't landed in 6 seconds, teleport back to the player. It's basically what it's saying here. Okay, so that goes over most of the script options, how to set it up. Oh, and our stopping distance is how far away it stops from you. And it actually, you'll see a very similar value right here in stopping distance. It gets, this updates the NavMeshAgent, so make sure it's right here more than anywhere else. Or not here, right here. Alright, so that covers ground pets, but how do we adjust flying pets? Well, you actually have to adjust this base offset. And you might be wondering, well, how do I know how much to adjust it by? So you want to go into play mode and then have your pet selected. So we're selecting the fox right now, which is fine. And we can actually scroll down to our base offset and see how much we want to change it by. Now, I might come up with a better system to automatically adjust this in the future, but for now, this is how it works in version 1, and that's how we're doing it. So that's how you make it a flying pet instead of a walking pet. Everything else will be the same for the most part. And that does cover most of our options. I guess it would be good to demonstrate a little bit of what we were talking about. So let's change this. We're going to change the speed to, let's say 20. Acceleration's at, let's say 2. This will give us a good example of the walk run. So right now it's walking, 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 walking. Oop, I fell off the map. But eventually, little guy will pick up enough speed to start running. Nope, I think he has too much speed. Alright, so that's a good test. Let's change this back down to 10 and try again. And there we go, he went from walk to run. So you kind of got to play with the values to see what feels good on each individual pet or how you want it to be. And this is really only valid if you have a walk and a run, but that is how you can kind of customize it how you like. Buddy. Now, the final thing you'll need to add for this all to work is a NavMesh surface. Now, this is an object. So you find this by just hitting plus, going down to AI, and NavMesh surface. Once you have your NavMesh surface, you just want to go ahead and hit bake. That'll give you this blue area. Now this blue area is highlighting everywhere your pets can get to, and then the obstacles to avoid. So for instance, if you're standing right on the wall, it can't get that close to the wall. So now that we've kind of talked about everything that's customizable and how to work with it, let's go ahead and walk through setting this one up. So first thing we're going to need is make sure we have all the correct components on it, which it looks like we do. Let's change the base offset to 1, and then we can start attaching our components. So it looks like we'll change the stopping distance to 12. Now we need to go into our animator. And it looks like we just have 2 for this person. We have walk, 0, and idle B, 0. Those are really confusing names. Why do we have them named that? Oh, okay, it's just walk. It is controlled by walk. And bonus 1. So we'll want to name our, where'd it go? Bonus 1. We don't have any extra bools for this avatar. I think that's really all we had to do by default was make sure the animations worked. And it does need a collider so you can interact with it, but I think we're good to go ahead and give this a try. Nope, where'd you go? Alright, so our base offset was a little off, and our stopping distance is a little too high. So let's change the stopping distance to 8, and change that base offset, like I was saying before, in game, so we can see kind of, looks like it needs to be about 3. And now we have her following us. So that's really all there is to it. Now it's a little bit hard to see, but she is walking and animating. But that's pretty much all there is to it. It's pretty cool. And works fairly well. So we can have this guy come on down, and apparently we can just jump up this, so we can just test it on the way back up again real quick. Here he comes. And we'll just jump back up, see if he makes it up. And here he comes. Oh, and her. They're coming. The only other thing we might want to check is make sure your animation is looping. Otherwise, it'll only play once. So let's go check hers as well. And it is. So we are good. But that is pretty much the pet follower system in a nutshell. This was definitely one of my longer explanation videos for an asset, but it is a pretty complicated asset, so there's a lot to go over there. And if you have any questions or suggestions for additions to this script, please let me know either on my Discord or in the YouTube comments. Either is good. And if you end up getting this asset from me, feel free to join the Discord if you have any troubles or need some setup help. I would be happy to assist you. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed the little showcase of the VRChat pet follower system. And this would work for anything you can assign to avatars as well, so you could, put bones on them or whatever, all the other avatar systems. And it should work just fine. And that's it. Hopefully this gave you a solid start. Whether you're building your first VRChat world or just looking to add more polish to the one you've already got, these little systems can go a long way toward making your world feel interactive and alive. If you want to try this asset out before dropping it into your own project, I've got a public demo world set up. You can jump in, push buttons, test things out, and see exactly how it works in action. I always try to keep the demo world updated with the latest version, so it's a great place to explore and get ideas. And if this video helped you, or if you're using any of my tools in your world, consider supporting me on Patreon. It helps me carve out more time to make these assets, keep them updated, and put together more tutorials like this one. Even a small pledge goes a long way and means a lot. There's a link to both the demo world and the Patreon in the description below, so feel free to check them out. Thanks again for watching, and as always, see you in the next one.